All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Energon Command class Landmine, a pretty cool figure. We looked at Bulkhead a couple videos ago. Those are the two figures from the Command class and Energon that I feel like are most comparable with each other because they both share this gimmick of having this sort of like extra added section that turns into a little weapon emplacement and then kind of an armorized mode and then attaches to the vehicle mode. I mean, granted, they did also each get a repaint in the Energon toy line, so I guess technically there are four figures that do that gimmick, but in terms of the molds, there's only the two of them, and these were the original ones, were Landmine and Bulkhead. And yeah, in Bulkhead's review, I kind of talked about how his extra added like blue jetpacky walker section was sort of felt a little bit disconnected from the figure itself. Like, it's a cool gimmick, but it does feel a little bit superfluous, whereas I feel like the one with Landmine actually integrates fairly well into the different modes that this guy has. Because if you're looking at this vehicle mode in and of itself, you couldn't tell that this is like an added, that this has like an extra added section to it. Basically, if you just fold it down like that a little bit, you can kind of unpeg these sections from the back here. These arms what will be his arms, peg into the bottom of this section. And this is the actual truck itself, which reveals these, two extra wheels there, which is kind of a silly looking mode in and of itself because it does kind of look like it just ends at a certain point. And then this tank tread section is the whole like extra added bit, which has some fun functionality to it. But while Bulkhead kind of had these two sort of separate, distinct sections, and he looked like a kind of complete figure with just, himself, and then the other thing was just kind of an added armor bit, I kind of feel like for Landmine to sort of feel complete, especially in vehicle mode, you do sort of need the extra section there. Like I said, it just has two holes right there, which just go onto these two pegs on, again, what will be the arms in robot mode to do the complete sort of like half track mode there. And it's a pretty cool looking vehicle mode. I really like it. It has some neat stuff going on. I love the plow section in the front here. It has this this hook, which you can actually unwind like that and then press this button to pull it back in. That's fun. It has this little gun right here that has a firing missile. I don't have the missile because I just got this guy off of eBay a while ago, but basically you just push in this little section to fire that. And yeah, it also has these hooks in the back. That's really more for the other modes, but you could use it for something in this mode. But yeah, no, it's a really cool looking vehicle mode, and it rolls pretty well. Okay, it rolls a little bit better without the extra section on there, but still rolls decently even with it. In terms of comparison, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom side swipe, so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe there. And here he is with the other Energon Command class figure that I have with Bulkhead, just so you can see what I'm talking about here, how it really looks like, helicopter with an extra thing attached as opposed to kind of a complete vehicle mode here. Whereas like I feel like they could kind of meet somewhere in the middle in terms of like this one really feels like, oh, it's very disjointed between its two sections, and this one kind of feels like it would not be complete without its section. So maybe they could have met somewhere in the middle, but I think if you actually have them combined, I think this one actually does it a little bit more successfully. But yeah, to get onto transformation, first, like I said, we'll just take this bit off and we'll do the transformation for this first. Basically, aside from attaching his armor, it can also do this little like sort of weapon emplacement mode where you fold it down like this at the treads and then take the claw sections and fold them down. And then I'm not entirely sure whether you're supposed to open the claws for this bit or not. You can kind of do it either way. If you want like a slightly wider base, you could do it like that, but it also kind of sits just fine if the claws are still folded up, so you can kind of do whatever and then kind of fold this down. You can fold these little antenna up really kind of however you like, honestly. Doesn't totally matter. Let's see if we can get it with the claws out. Maybe it'll sit a little bit more level. Yeah, that works a little bit better. Again, it's got kind of like soft locking points, but it does kind of want to lock at a point where it's like tilted down a little bit rather than actually being level, which is kind of annoying. And then what you can also do is you can fold these sections up. It can rotate this whole turret piece, but only that much. Basically, you're rotating it so that you can have these two kind of sitting in line, which is really more meant for the combined mode in robot mode. So I usually just leave it like this so that it still has the hook section in the middle, but you can kind of do whatever you want there in terms of that. And then I usually fold these up so they kind of sit a little bit more up like this, which is, it just kind of becomes an extra like winch mode basically with the the hook there still working, but that seems like it could have some functionality for him. But yeah, you can just put that off to the side. And then for the figure itself here, basically what you want to do is you want to take this front snowplow section, and it'll just unpeg into 3 pieces, and then the legs will kind of detach from here. They kind of peg on at an angle so that the wheels are sitting flat and these pieces kind of angle off to the side. Then you can take the main middle section here and it will just fold up on this double hinge and sit like that to kind of become a waist piece. And then we can take these sections here, we can extend the legs, they're just on sliders there, and then extend this whole armature around just like this, so you can peg the legs into each other, just like that. And then we can take these sections and then you'll fold them up on these armatures so that the plow bits will peg in here and become the feet and kind of fold down these heels, just like that. And we might have to adjust the camera here a little bit. Yep. So I'll do that real quick. Get them pegged in there. Come on. That should be good. And then basically we take these arm sections here, which are pegged into the wheel section, and just unpeg them. Which can be kind of a pain sometimes, just like that. Just so we can take these sections and then separate them out on this armature here, and then flip this whole section around. It will just unpeg and then come down like this. You have to kind of bring this down so it sits like that, and then we can rotate the arms down and then extend out the hands. The sliders can be a little bit annoying to get your fingernails on, but you just extend them out like that. I find it usually helps to kind of get a fingernail on both sides because it does have the little latch on either side. Otherwise, it's just kind of difficult. And then you want to take these sections, and on this weird little like double hinge section, it'll double hinge up like that, and then just sit onto the backpack there. And then we can extend out the robot mode head, which will kind of tab into that section just like that, and then take this little gray bit and then just fold that down. And there we have Landmine in his robot mode. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. He wasn't like a super significant character in the Energon show. I don't remember if he showed up at all, actually. He was really more of a character in Cybertron, where he had the more like typical like Earth excavator mode or whatever it was, you know, some kind of construction vehicle. Whereas this guy I don't think really had much attention in the Energon show itself, but he's got a pretty cool design. I like his head sculpt with the weird sort of like red face and then inlaid in the visor here. I think that's a super cool look. Like my same complaint with Bulkhead, still the issue that I run into him with is just that like he's got good articulation, but the ratchets kind of have limited teeth, so they kind of have to like lock in between sections, which makes him feel a little bit stiff and you know, a little bit, you know, more difficult to maneuver properly. But yeah, his head is on a swivel, so it just rotates around like that. And then you can kind of have it look in a little bit just because of, you know, how it folds up for transformation, but not really. The shoulders here, you can use this joint to go outward, but he also has a separate joint that clicks outward. And that ratchet, I think, is good enough. It's like here to here, which is a little bit too much, but it's not quite as bad as some of the other ones. And he also has a shoulder joint, which is decent. You can kind of adjust these smokestacks however you like. I usually like to leave them at an angle like that. It's got a bicep swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, with only you know, 3 clicks to get there, which is kind of annoying. Nothing at the wrists, nothing at the waist, just because it folds up like that for transformation. I mean, kind of, you get a little bit of like wiggle side to side just because of how it folds up, but I don't know how super useful that is. The hips can go forward about that far, back about that far. He's got little side flaps here, out to the side, that far. Again, you know, kind of it's either like this or the next one out is this. So it's like not quite enough teeth in there. And then also these kind of come unpegged a lot, which is a little bit annoying. He's got a thigh swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the knee there. And then the heels can kind of tilt up and down. And then because of the way that the feet are like pegged in and then also have this armature section, you do actually get a bit of ankle tilt, which is nice. So, you know, like I said, decent articulation on paper, but when you're actually like working with him, it can be kind of annoying just because of the limitations of the ratchets there. But yeah, in terms of comparisons, before we get to the full combined mode, here he is for the standard one with Kingdom Sideswipe, and for a standard Voyager, here he is with Optimus Prime. Just so you can see, a bit bigger, definitely a lot bulkier, but that's how they kind of stack up together height-wise. And then here he is again with Bulkhead, just so you can see how the two of them look. Pretty comparable. I'd say they're not, same size class from the same toy line, so they're pretty comparable. But yeah, and then for the full combine mode, basically what you do for this section is you want to unpeg the claws from each other. It's easier to do that first, which can be kind of annoying, honestly, because they're tight pegs, and then just get them kind of separated here, because then you want to take this section and just kind of extend it out like this so you can rip it off of this like octagonal peg here, which can be kind of annoying to get it reattached, but sort of once you've gotten the hang of it, you can kind of like, you can see it springs open this way, so you kind of like put it in a bit of an angle here, and then it's not too bad to reattach. And then getting it detached is you usually want to just like pry it off, and then it comes off pretty easily. So you separate it to those three sections, bring the claws back down kind of how they were for vehicle mode, but leave the claws themselves out. And then basically we just want to put away his hands here. And then you can attach these sections to the underside of the arms. He's just got two pegs on each arm, and then two peg holes on the inside of the tread sections there to give him big sort of claw arms like that. And then for this section, like I said before, you want to rotate it that, like what, quarter turn, eighth turn, I don't know. I guess it's quarter turn in this direction, so that these are not, one of these is not in the middle, and then you bring these out so they both sit up like that. You kind of have to bring these further back, and then these two clips are supposed to go over these two pegs here. Now, one thing that I find is that usually when I peg them both in, it sits weird and it kind of angles in this direction. Like you can see, it's very clearly angled that way. That has to do with how this piece sits, and I can't ever get that to not do that. So to mitigate that, that's the word, I usually only peg it in on this side, and then it kind of evens out, ends up sitting actually like even and level with the head there. Evil. Oh my gosh, my words are just blurring together today. So you can see it's actually not pegged in on that side, and it still holds on there just fine, but now it actually sits kind of more symmetrically, which I appreciate. Now, with the extra weight, I don't appreciate that the heels can fold up more than they have to, because then you kind of run into the issue where he's wanting to topple backwards a lot of the time, which is a bit annoying. But if you kind of like bring the arms forward, it helps, readjust the center of balance and helps a lot there. But yeah, like I said, I think that this works a little bit better as a combined mode than Bulkheads, because again, the colors match with the actual figure, and it kind of separates out into more sections. So like he also has the double arm sections, but instead of just getting two extra arms, he's got now giant like claw arms, and then you can kind of articulate the fingers as well, and then you can still use the whole winch section. Obviously that still works, it's just a singular mechanism, doesn't get messed with in any mode there. And yeah, no, I think that it looks pretty cool. Again, like I said, has kind of some issues standing up, but if you work with it, you can usually get it sitting like pretty solid. It's just a little bit annoying to get there. And then yeah, again, it's kind of annoying that you sort of have to rely on not pegging it in on both sides, because that makes it a little bit less sort of secure. But then, like I said, if you actually hook both of those in, then it kind of just goes off to one side, which I find even more annoying. So half a dozen of one, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. That's the expression. God, things are just not coming out of my mouth properly today. But yeah, in terms of comparisons with him in the combined mode, here he is again with Sideswipe and Optimus Prime, and then here he is with Bulkhead and his full Power Links powered up mode, just so you can see what the two of them look like together. Yeah, like I said, I feel like they're both good figures, but if you had to pick between getting one or the other, I would go with Landmine. I think that he's a more solid figure overall. If you don't care about getting like the extra stuff with it and you just want the figure itself, they're both okay. I still think Landmine is a slightly better figure, but at least Bulkhead without the backpack is kind of a more complete transformer in and of itself, just turning into a helicopter, whereas he really does kind of need the extra stuff to get the like full effect there. Otherwise the truck mode looks a little bit silly, whereas it looks kind of awesome when it actually has all the stuff there. But yeah, that's just kind of my opinion on it. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. Again, decent figure, not without issue, kind of difficult to work with sometimes, but overall it's a fun gimmick and I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Without further ado, here we have Transformers Energon Command Class Landmine.